I do have a fun starting bit, and normally I'm like, I don't have a bit. Do you guys have anything funny to start on? And then we go, well, it was bad, and then we start. But I have a great bit.
All right.
That's not at all a very niche reference and doesn't include a bad impression. See if you get it.
Okay. Is there a setup you need? Do I need
No
to be
setup.
Okay.
You're going to get it like that.
Okay.
So the family takes a bow, and the talent agent says, what do you call yourselves? And they say, the Fabelmans.
That's Gilbert Godfrey from The Aristocrats.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Gilbert Godfrey doing the Aristocrats joke, specifically from the Friars roast right after 9/11.
When he immediately went on stage and said, sorry, I'm late. My plane had a connecting flight with the Empire State Building.
Yes.
And no one laughed.
I knew you'd get the reference.
In time, that was appreciated.
That was,
Oh, that's such a good joke now.
yeah, I mean, he had that. Everyone booed. Someone yelled too soon. And then he just made the raunchiest joke
Yes.
of all
And then
time.
he did like a 10-minute version of the Aristocrats.
Yep.
Anyway, that's how we're starting. As you guys know, I don't know how to start the podcast yet, so it'll either be that every time going forward or something along the lines of, welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holden. This is a podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots. Each week, we'll pick a movie that either I or a guest hadn't seen before and really should have by now. This month, we're doing it a little different. This will be the last episode of our Oscar month. All month long, we've done, I don't know if I can say current anymore, but Best Picture nominees from the 95th Oscars. And this will be the fifth one we're covering, including the ladies episode. There's 6 episodes coming out this month. Because of illness, the 2 bonus episodes got pushed back. So I think this is going to come out like on the 31st, but it still counts. And I think I'm putting out like a month's worth of episode in the last 10 days of March. I'm sorry. And they've all been pretty long. Sorry. We had a lot to say about these movies. I'll get back to a normal length next month. Yeah, this episode's The Fabelmans. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit. First off, left to right across your podcast dials. My guest this week, we got Vaz.
Hi, Ben.
We got Bree.
Hello.
And we got Sam.
Hello, Bentley.
Okay. This is our last episode of like our Oscar month, but I feel like this also might be the only episode that has people on it that didn't watch the Oscars. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
I do what I always do. Watch the YouTube clips later.
That's fine. In lieu of the what have you watched lately, I've been asking people what they thought of the Oscars, and I'm not going to break that tradition. So what'd you think of the YouTube clips?
Fine.
Okay.
Not enough dancing during the in memoriam section. That's probably my biggest gripe.
Yeah, I can't believe they didn't keep doing that. It was so well received last year. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of in a time crunch, and that Aristocrats joke took up a lot of my mental energy. Maybe we should just get into it. But I guess in general, because you guys didn't watch the Oscars, has there been anything worth mentioning that you watched recently?
I have 2 things.
That's too high a standard. I've never had you do something worth mentioning before. Anything you'd like to talk about?
I still have 2 things. If you don't mind me talking about 2 things.
No, that's okay. That's allowed.
Okay. Yesterday I watched John Wick Chapter 4. Incredible. Arguably some of the best.
I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah?
I'm going to enjoy it. I'm seeing it in a few hours.
You will enjoy it.
Okay.
It's just it's pretty great.
Does it make the 2 hours and 50 minutes? Like, does it drag?
Yes.
at all?
No, not at all.
Really?
Does not drag. It has arguably one of the best action sequences I've seen in films.
I would assume.
And it's quite incredible.
I'm sure it doesn't do what I thought it was gonna, or what I was hoping it would do. But I was thinking that John Wick 4, because it was 3 hours long, should like an hour and a half in have like a main bad guy dies, plot is done, go back, like
Don't answer that.
Keanu Reeves goes home,
Yeah.
and then like he gets like a new pet or something that gets killed, and then he literally looks at the camera and says like, "Oh shit, here we go again," and then it just says John Wick 5, and they just start immediately right there.
There I go,
Like
kill it again.
Another hour 10 or so.
I didn't end up having time because I took so many notes watching The Fabelmans to watch 3 again last night, but I did watch 1 and 2 this week, and 1 hits credits at 95 minutes.
Yep.
But I like all the world building that they've done in 2 and 3, so I'm excited to see what happens.
In this, all the new characters they add are really great. Donnie Yen's amazing.
Yeah, Scott Adkins looks cool
Yep.
in his fat suit, but in his like combat fat suit.
It's pretty great. Bill Skarsgård's pretty douchey, so
Bill Skarsgård.
it's pretty great. You're gonna love it.
I'm really excited. The Keanu Sans continues unabated.
Second thing I want to talk about is a movie series that I believe was a huge influence on John Wick, which was the Lone Wolf and Cub series.
Sure.
There's 6 of them. I finished it a few days ago after like 6 months of watching a film each month.
Never seen it.
They're really good. If
Yeah.
you've seen Mandalorian, the Mandalorian is just Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah. People mention Last of Us is also taking
Pretty much anytime you see an adult with a child, Lone Wolf and Cub.
Leon the professional.
Yep. And if you ever are curious about watching it, this is one of the lines and one of the great themes of the show or of the movie series, which is this is the main character Ito Ogami saying this. My son and I live the demon way in hell together. We stand ready to descend to hell through the 6 realms and 4 lives. So he says stuff like that all the time, and it's pretty great.
We saw Cats Don't Dance.
We did.
2 pillars of cinema.
Yeah.
3, John Wick,
Oh,
Lone
yes, sir.
Wolf,
Yeah.
Cats Don't Dance. And the action scenes in Cats Don't Dance, let me tell you.
I've tried to like mute all John Wick related notifications, but a couple things have slipped through. People keep talking about a stairs sequence.
Yep, there's a stairs in there.
Okay. That's all
There's
I know. And I'm
stairs in
pissed.
Cats Don't Dance.
There
as well.
are. He dances down them.
And I was just going to say the Lone Wolf and Cub is mostly what people say, like, oh, it's doing that thing. But when Tim Rogers, the Action Button Reviews guy, who I mentioned sometimes, did his Last of Us review, he referred to it as the big friend baby child dynamic,
I love
which I
it.
like too.
Which is also in Cats Don't Dance.
So
Yeah.
Kinda.
Speaking of somebody who goes to Hollywood to make movies, I feel like your Cats Don't Dance transition is just begging right here. You gotta take it.
Well, speaking of someone who I've never seen Cats Don't Dance, is that what it's about?
It's a cat who wants to make movies, and he goes to Hollywood, and
Well, he wants to act in
he wants to
movies.
act in
And they're
movies.
told he don't dance.
Because he's an animal. And people want to see humans; they don't want to see animals.
Lots of racist overtones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot of, and then it turns out the animals were good all along.
Yeah, it's a Zootopia situation.
It is a Zootopia situation. Only there's humans instead of like it's not a predator
versus prey. Yeah, it's
versus
human
prey.
versus
It's-
animals.
Yeah.
Ah, same as it ever was.
Yep.
All right, let's see if I don't cry in front of Oz. Because I feel like there's no way back from that. So let's talk about the Fabelmans. That's my transition. The Fabelmans. Who wants to give us a 1 minute? Wait, no, hold on. I saw this in theaters when it came out. In the very brief window it was in theaters. I'm assuming you probably
I
saw
also
it
saw it in
around.
theaters.
And you guys didn't see it until probably this week.
Yep.
I'm guessing.
We watched like a fourth of it last night, and then the rest of it this morning.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
just how it was supposed to be watched.
Did you? So they get to Arizona, and you're like, the rest of this is a Saturday movie.
Yes.
So you
Okay.
watched,
Yeah, I think that's about
you
it, yeah.
watched little baby Spielberg. I mean,
Yeah.
Fableman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Little baby
And then
thing.
you saw big boy Fableman.
Yeah, we're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is for Saturday.
We're keeping Gabriel LaBelle for Saturday.
Oh, what was happening was we were building a bed while watching it, and then we realized we're never going to finish building this bed because there was too much to see on the screen.
There's
so,
a lot. It is
yeah.
action packed.
45 minutes
And then
went
there's a
by, and I
small
think we had
screen.
put like one screw in. And we're like, okay, this isn't a movie we could watch while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we watched the rest of it.
Good. Well, okay. Don't tell me what you think of it yet, because we need a 1 minute plot summary. And good luck to whoever does it.
I'll do it. I kind of thought it'd be
Okay.
funny for Voz to do it for
I do
memory.
have a bit for it, but I'm not 100% sure on it. I've been doing it for a while. I'm like, I don't think it's funny anymore.
Okay.
It was
I
funny
guess
in December.
Probably. I'll do it after the show.
Okay.
That'll be a little bonus
It's
for
all
you
fine.
guys.
You can do it.
Bonus
You can
feature.
do it into the mic, and if it doesn't play, then we.
Yeah, we'll cut it for Patreon if not.
All right. Start the clock.
you got too far away.
Oh, I got too far again.
I don't know how it's happening, but the clock has started.
Start the clock.
Lock the gate.
So Baby Steven Spielberg, whose name is Fabelman, is like
And Sammy.
He's Sammy. He's watching a
Sam.
movie, and two trains crash together, and he's like, "That's it. I'm making movies for the rest of my life." And then he starts doing it, but then it turns out his mom's in love with Seth Rogen, and he's like, "Oh, it doesn't makes me not want to make movies anymore." And they move 3 times, and the third time they move to California, which is the magical land of anti-Semitism, and it's like, Jughead Jones is like, I hate you because you're Jewish, and he's like, oh, but I make movies real good, and then he makes a movie so good it makes Jughead sad, and then he gets confused and he punches his friend in the face, and then they go home and his mom's like, yeah, I cheated on your dad, so what? And then he meets John Ford, who's really David Lynch, and that's the movie.
Yeah.
That's an abridged version. That's
Yeah.
good.
You did about 50 seconds, so good job.
Nice, good for
You have 10 seconds.
and then he fables a Fableman, and the Fablemans get fabled.
Oh, that's how the feeble men get fabled.
That's what the name's called.
Yeah, good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Nice to see you.
Nice. yeah, it was just not. Well, like I said,
And
it was in a
pod.
time
We needed a
crunch. So,
Yep.
interesting movie structurally, which makes it a little difficult to decide: do we just go plot wise, or do we focus on sections, or I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting. We got halfway through that movie, and I was like, "How's this gonna end?" Like, I was like, "Because
Were you expecting the last hour to be a high school movie?
no,
Probably
not at
not.
all.
Not at all.
Because that was right before I started asking how this movie's
Right,
gonna
yeah.
end." And then I went to high school, and I'm like, I still don't get where this movie's gonna end. I
It's like,
figured
it just introduced an entire new cast of supporting characters with like backgrounds.
45 minutes left.
Yeah. It's cool though. The first 20-ish minutes is the youngest version that we see of Sammy and his family. And Michelle Williams basically looks the same throughout. Paul Dano, they add gray to his hair throughout, but that's really it. And so this covers, I don't know, how old is he in the first bit? Like 8 or 9?
Yeah,
Something like
I
that.
would say about 8 or 9.
And then the time jump happens and he's a senior in high school.
Yep.
And then the last scene is a year after he graduates high school, essentially.
Yeah, he's like a freshman in college, basically.
Yeah. And that's the time frame, and those 3 ages are distinct. But most of the movie you spend with them in Arizona. And that's the structure of the movie. Do we want to start at the beginning? He goes to see the greatest show on earth, and it sets up the Michelle Williams versus Paul Dano dynamic. The dad, Bert, is trying to explain literally what movies are, like how the projector is
Yep.
working, how the moving images, he uses the term to this 8-year-old kid, like persistence of memory.
Yep.
And then Michelle Williams tells him, movies are dreams you never forget.
Yep.
And that's just their dynamic.
Yep, it's the perfect. Yeah. I remember one of my friends talking in his salutatorian speech about how every time he looks at a microphone, he thinks about how it works, and
He's a Bert.
And in that moment, I was like, I've never thought about that once, because I am definitely Michelle Williams in that combo. But yeah, it was a really succinct way of just putting them back.
Yeah.
And like his dad,
Engineers versus
Dreamers.
dreamers.
his dad like has a Wikipedia page. I didn't like.
Yeah, no, he was actually an extremely successful computer guy.
Yeah, so
I don't know what the term is because I'm more of a mitzi.
yes, but yeah, and yeah, he really likes that Hugh Jackman movie. So
Yeah.
I guess it just made him want to make all these movies.
God damn it.
There is also when they finish the movie and they're driving home. This is in the trailer as well, which when I watched the trailer originally, and this shows up in the trailer, did make me cry. When Mitzi asks young Sammy, like, what was your favorite part? Like that line just gets me.
Yeah, I guess an interesting entry point for this actually is the trailer, the poster especially sets up this movie as sort of like a magic of making movies and Hollywood and stuff. And he doesn't get to Hollywood until the last 5 minutes of the movie.
Yep.
He really only sees 2 movies in the in there as well.
Yeah, Greatest Show on
That
Earth and Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
Yeah, and the rest is just all his shit.
It is about him making movies, but it's a lot darker, maybe would be the right word, or it's a lot more about how he's like an alien semi-human who makes movies as his therapy because he can't relate to his family. Which isn't exactly what the poster would have you think.
I remember you guys on an earlier episode, I don't remember if it was cut or not, so apologies if everyone listening if they don't get this, but I remember you complaining about people are talking about the Fabelmans. Here's another Hollywood movie about Hollywood and everyone loves Hollywood, and you were just like, he doesn't get, it's not a Hollywood movie, like nothing of, it's a filmmaking movie, but it's not a Hollywood movie.
It's not subtle, and it's probably pretty indulgent anytime you do make an autobiographical movie, but it is about how this is like a horrible curse that ruined his relationship with his family.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think as somebody who I made a lot of movies in high school, not good movie, not anything to the quality that he even probably made in the 60s in high school, but like your dumb little short films with your friends in your video production class. And there was a real part of me that wanted to do film, and I kind of got disheartened by a combo of doing a project I really didn't want to work on that just kind of killed the buzz for me. And which is
your family's camping trip.
I was going to say, which was funny because he had the family camping trip one, which he was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do my passion project. And that was kind of like my senior final. I had to make a Coast Guard video, which I didn't really want to make. And I stood up for it because I was like, whatever, this will help people. And, they need this done. And I just made it, and it was terrible, and I hated it, and I delivered it late, and I delivered it bad. And I feel bad that I delivered it in that quality. And then I did our high school yearbook video, which was also bad because I half-assed it because I was too busy working on the Coast Guard video and didn't want to make either of them, and feel bad about both of those things. And my thought was like, while watching this movie selfishly, because I'm watching a self-indulgent film and thinking about myself while doing it.
Impossible not to.
And was thinking like, God, if I had seen like this movie at the time, I wonder if it would have sparked something of like go do your own, not that I feel like, I could be in Hollywood right now, but just kind of like I could be a YouTube editor right now.
Or if you had an Uncle Boris
exactly
to really tell you, here's what your life is going to be. Tear your clothes and sleep on the floor. The one moment that especially kind of crystallizes the disconnect for me is in the trailer. And even on the poster, the monkey climbing up on Bert is played for like laughs.
Yep.
And on the poster, it's Paul Dano with the monkey on his shoulder, and he's like, like smiling directly at the camera.
Yep.
Like it's like fucking Ross from Friends.
Yeah, like a real
monkey.
BJ and the Bear situation.
Yeah. Whereas in the movie, it's played as serious mental health emergency. Everything is about to go horribly wrong.
Yep.
And this is the obvious thing. And
a mental health emergency where also she kind of is alluding to an affair.
Yes. Directly to her children saying, we're going to name him Benny.
The guy I cheated on.
You just like, everyone's stomach just drops. And you're just like, uh-oh.
Yep.
Even like the younger kids are like, woo, this is real bad.
Yeah, can we go back to when you drove us into a tornado? That would be more.
Yeah.
I kind of want to bring up, like, they show like lots of signs of her kind of like descending into madness without help or anything, and I kind of hate that the end is just, she's fine, she found who she actually wants to be with, don't need to go to therapy.
She does go to therapy.
Yeah.
But
Does she actually?
Yeah, she has that scene where she stands on the stool and goes, I started therapy.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
But okay, because it just kind of seemed like they kind of threw it away. It's like, it's fine, she's with her affair partner.
Yep.
It's also believable that at least
the 50s and 60s.
Yeah,
so.
Right.
Where I don't know if therapists were a thing back then.
You just keep beating it
I
down.
think they were a thing, but
like
then
you gotta see him like in a back
only
alley.
once they get to Northern California.
Yeah, therapists are like, just keep beating down those feelings, then you'll feel better.
That's even what Mitzi says, which is probably accurate for the time. I don't know. I wasn't in the room with her. But she says like therapists only tell you why you're feeling it. They don't actually change anything.
Especially back then for women, it's just, it's just female hysteria.
It's probably your time of the month.
Exactly,
Get out of
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Give me $80.
Yeah. I mean, she's probably not wrong that it wasn't going to help that much, but she did need some help.
Yeah.
Bert needs some help. Everyone needed some help. Besides Uncle Boris, who seemed pretty self-possessed.
Yeah.
He seemed like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Is this the Judd
Scaring
Hirsch
kids.
part?
Most
here?
sane character.
We gotta jump into Judd Hirsch.
Well, I think we're kind of like, let's do...
You want to talk about the kid stuff?
I don't know.
Well,
we haven't really
he gets it. We haven't talked about him getting his train set.
He does
And
get
then-
train set.
let's actually go kind of chronologically. He sees the movie and then is having train crash nightmares that are exciting him, and he doesn't really know why.
Yeah.
And then he gradually, over 7 days or 8 days of Hanukkah, gets one piece of a train set every day.
I thought that was
Great
cute.
sequence.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a great like life hack for your parent to like in that situation be like,
I'm giving you
"Oh,
something that has 8 parts.
I'm giving you one gift, but you're gonna get it over 7 days."
Yep.
Yeah. So the cast is just the younger kids now, but the adults stay the same, including Bert's mom is played by the legendary Jeannie Berlin, who's just great in this movie and like the 3 scenes that she's in.
She's not in a lot.
As disapproving in-law. But anyway, I just wanted to mention the Jeannie Berlin's in this movie because it's the first Jeannie Berlin, but not last one that we'll do because we'll do Heartbreak Kid someday. That's a promise. Anyway, she gets the trains and crashes them when the adults aren't nearby.
Yep.
And
Which bothers the father because he's a mechanical person.
Yes.
He wants them to use the trains like normal.
And
Yes.
doesn't want to break his toy.
Yeah, that too. You'll
Yeah.
get these back when you learn to respect them or
But the-
whatever.
yeah.
But then the mom understands, like, I think you want to film this and you want to see it over and over again.
Yeah, he needs to see them crash. That's my Michelle Williams.
Spot on.
Yeah. And so when Bert's not there, she's like, don't tell your father. We'll film him. And I guess she wasn't actually there for the shoot because he does it a bunch of times, he says. And this leads into he gets the tape in the mail, and there's the shot from the trailer that is, I guess, corny, but it really works for me where he's projecting it onto his hands.
I read that apparently was filmed later because they didn't realize about it until like they were like watching like reels of it, and Steven Spielberg had like his hand up on there by accident,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, we could do the hand thing in the
Yeah.
film."
And then he shows it to Michelle Williams in the closet. Mitzi, we're just going to say Mitzi. We're just say Michelle Williams every time. And Michelle Williams, who won our Best Supporting Actress at the Ladies, despite the fact that she, of course, campaigned for lead, we put her in supporting. So that scene obviously echoed later when he makes her watch the camping trip video in the closet.
Yep.
But you don't necessarily know that yet. And yeah, I don't know. This is just great shit.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was a great way to show like how films could like he wants to understand
Yes.
this more, and like how he uses films to understand even just like his life.
Yes, it's like there's something kind of broken about him, and this is how he can understand and eventually relate to other people because he's not good at it in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bert gets promoted. He's going to move to Phoenix. Well, not promoted. He gets a new job, right? And he's going to move to Phoenix. And Benny's not coming because
He's not a smart.
because of course he's not. And this is like the first sign when you're like, well, Mitzi's really overreacting. Bert, maybe consider this a red flag. He's like very reasonably like, I just got hired. I can't like be like, and my best friend's coming too.
Yep.
And she's like, oh, I can't believe you. And then she brings the kids out into the tornado.
He's
and you're
your
like,
best friend.
yeah. She brings the kids out into the tornado, and you're like, oh, there's something very wrong here. Smash cut to the very funny scene that isn't played for laughs in the trailer, where it's from the perspective of Sammy filming everyone in the car as they're on the way to Arizona. And it keeps panning, and eventually Seth Rogen pops into the frame. And you're like, yep, Benny's coming too.
Yep.
And then there's the time jump when they get to Arizona, and we're only 22 minutes into the movie.
Yep.
Yeah, hard to build a bed during all of that stuff,
No.
I guess. The little kid versions of the children are good, I think. But again, it's only 20-ish minutes that they're in this.
They do a solid job for the time
Yeah.
they have.
After watching the movie, watching it this time, I actually because I saw it in theaters the first time, like pausing to take notes and stuff, was like, wow, I thought that part was a lot longer in my mind. Because it has a lot of the groundwork for stuff that's going to be echoed later, or obviously themes that they're going to return to with Sammy and the way films work for him and stuff. But yeah, it's really just 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, you're with Gabriel LaBelle. And I think it's the first of many times that in my own notes that no one else sees, I did a bit where I was like, that's whoever's music.
Yeah,
And
that's
this was Gabriel LaBelle's music. Eventually, it gets to Oaks Fegley's music, and David Lynch's music.
We'll get to Oaks Fegley, but
It's not for another hour.
There was a time when I paused, like, she was like, "Oh, we gotta go to the bathroom." Okay, pause, and it was on Amazon, so like they lived little names, and I'm like, this kid got famous. And he probably had all these agents being like, "Hey, we're gonna change your name, and it's gonna be like, something." He's like, "No, the world must know my name, Oats Fegley."
Yeah, Oaks Fegley's a weird name, but he's not here for another hour.
Yeah. You can just cut and put that bit in later.
Yeah, it's him and the other Boy Scouts in Arizona. They're catching the baby scorpions, going to see Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. What do you guys think of these guys?
This is like a fun crew.
Yeah, they're fun.
I like
It's a fun crew.
it happens here and it happens in the war movie, but I like when they're showing all the like little like DIY like ways to like get effects going, which I'm sure were things that he thought of when he was a kid or that he knew that other people did or something like that.
They do that even when he's a little kid. We didn't mention that
Yeah.
he's like, wetting the toilet paper to make them look like mummies.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this like genuinely cool like ideas in this, especially like how to make like landmines or like explosions.
Poking the holes in the film to make like the guns look more realistic.
Yeah. And like the engineering aspect of it is how he's relating to Bert.
Yep.
And Bert's like, "Oh, that's brilliant. You're thinking like an engineer."
Yeah. And now we got to get you away from this hobby and we got to get you towards work.
Yep. That tension that keeps coming back. Paul Dano mostly extremely supportive, but still like always a tinge of like, and one day you'll do a real job.
Yeah.
A little too practical, but
Yes. He just doesn't get it.
yeah.
Paul Dano is a dad, so like Paul Dano's, I don't know how old, like 38, 39, I think.
Something like that.
He's almost 40, I think.
Yeah. So when this movie started, and I know we're still in the beginning, but when this movie first started, when they were the little kids, I was like, okay, believable, Paul Dano, dad. And then they do the time skip, and obviously they don't make him look much older. And I'm like, oh, I'm really having trouble picturing Paul Dano as a dad. But whatever. And then by the end of the movie, I'm like, I can't not picture Paul Dano as a dad anymore. Like,
No, he's great.
He's got that good like, oh shucks, dad energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just checked. He's 38. Williams is 42.
He there's a scene that happens in this kind of same sequence where so the mom, we should probably talk about the mom dying unless I'm skipping too far ahead.
No, it's around.
That's around there.
Yeah.
It's around there.
So Michelle Williams' mom dies, and that's supposed to be like the real catalyst of her mental stability, shall we say, like kind of like eroding a bit. And there's a scene where there's a phone call and it's not really happening, but she picks it up and she hears her mother's voice through the phone. And in the background, Paul Dano's making the most Paul Dano face of all time.
Yeah.
Just that. Oh, it's all over. Like, oh, this is bad.
This isn't good.
Yeah. Just that, like, oh, my poor, like, it's like he's watching his house burn down. He's just like, oh, Paul Dano.
It's very sad.
He's going, no. It was supposed to be you and me, Batman.
Starts singing Ave Maria at the top of his lungs into the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that joke was going to come up.
It has to.
We got
It has
there.
to.
And that's I love, it's a easy sound design trick, but I still love that like when he picks up the phone, it's just a dial tone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's post camping trip. If we want to talk about the camping trip
Crap.
too.
Yeah, I forgot about the camping trip.
Yeah. When because they get the warning and then the next day the uncle comes. And then when he's up in the room with Sammy, he's like, "Oh, you don't want to make the thing that your daddy wants you to make." That was Irish. I don't fucking know. I'm gonna cut that out. That's horrible.
It's just, I love you, man. Everything sounds like a leopard.
Slap at the base. Yeah.
Slap at the base.
The most timely references today on the pod.
That's 13 years old. It's fine.
Yeah. Now I'm just thinking of Paul Rudd doing weird voices and talking about Rush.
That's slap bass. Big time.
Yeah.
And he's telling this to Sammy.
Yeah.
The new Tom Sawyer.
Seth Rogen's still there.
Seth Rogen, yeah. He's in this movie too. The camping trip.
The camping trip. They go on the camping trip. The dad starts a...
Yeah.
There's probably
Bert's all practical.
one of the saddest scenes in the whole movie for me was still the dad starting a fire, which is, as a Boy Scout, a really hard thing to do. And like, I get that he probably just
makes
had...
a really good fire.
I was going to say,
too.
he probably just had flint and just see you. But yeah, that was a really impressive thing. And he's doing the real sad, like, almost introvert thing that I suffer and like empathize with so much, where like everyone else is having a great time
It's
over there.
happening.
Yeah. Like, it's going. Like,
Yeah,
you
I
guys
was
are
real
gonna
sad
miss
there.
it. It's a really exciting thing that's only exciting to me and not you.
Yeah, there's a line in there that's it's not like played as a joke or anything because no one's listening to him when he says it. But as the kids are getting up and leaving, he's like talking about triangles. He's like, "There's a lot of history to this shape." As they're running away. He's like, "Oh, the pyramids."
Yep.
People are just gone because Benny's doing a bit with a tree.
Yep.
I should mention this movie features people named Ben and Sam.
Yeah, that's true. I
just a
didn't even
thought.
think about that.
No Mike's or Breeze though.
No.
No.
You'd think once they get to California there would be, but no.
No.
Yeah. Probably a good time to talk about the campfire scene at night where they're doing the song and then Seth Rogen does his like dirty version of the song.
Yep.
That I think Seth Rogen, at first you don't realize what he's doing, and I don't think I'm giving him too much credit because, you know, Spielberg's a pretty good director, so I think this part's intentional. Seth Rogen is very specifically not that funny.
Yep.
Just to the point where you can pick up on it's weird how funny Mitzi thinks he is.
Yep.
Because that wasn't that
funny.
And it's kind of playing against his general like leading man of many comedies
Yep.
status, that he's kind of just like the amount of funny that a family friend is.
Yep.
That is like the fun uncle, but he's
Yeah.
not actually professionally a funny person.
Yeah, and probably like funny with like a crutch where he keeps coming back to the same jokes or something
Yeah.
like, or the same bits.
Like when they're screening the camping video later, he's like, "Only you can prevent forest fires." And it's just like, "Okay, not right
yeah,
now."
like
Yeah. There's time like the jokes don't always land.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great example because like that is like the perfect thing for like he's like, "Oh, I got a perfect, line
Yeah.
to sing him with." And it was like, "Oh, that wasn't the right moment."
Yeah, no one's in that vibe.
She's
right
having a moment. You can't tell the camera's is focusing on her and the music's swelling. Shut up.
So one of the weirder things that you'd ever see in a movie that is autobiographical about someone's mom is that scene in the camping trip where she's dancing in front of the headlights.
Yep.
Yeah, seeing that there's just like, holy shit, they're going for it.
Yep.
That's a great scene.
It's
It's crazy.
Yeah. I feel that's probably because I'm really dumb. That's probably the first scene that I realized that Seth Rogen at least has a slight thing for his mom, because like they're all trying to cut, and you're like, well, surely Seth Rogen, when like the daughter, when that woman's daughter's like, hey, close your eyes, and he's like, nah, I want to see this.
That whole scene's crazy. Everyone's reactions are crazy.
Yep.
The fact that Julia Butters, who plays Reggie, the daughter with the bangs and glasses,
Yep.
she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood
Yep.
as the little girl that acts with Leo in a few scenes.
Yep.
And I think she's really good in this. In small, it's a small-ish role. But I think all the sisters, besides the youngest one, do feel like they're a really big part of this movie. Even if you like counted their lines, they're probably not that much.
Oh, the littlest girl says, "Mommy got a monkey, though," and it was great. Great line read
True.
from that little girl.
Yeah, right. And in that character's defense, she is a baby until like the
Yeah,
last
exactly.
third of the movie.
Yeah.
But this whole bit where she's like trying to like block the view of
Yep.
Michelle Williams while she's dancing, and then going to each person. And she's like, "Why are you filming this to Sammy?" And she's like, "Dad, you got to stop this." And Dana's just like, "Come sit down." And then, yeah, with Uncle Benny, he's just like, "I'm going to watch this."
Yep.
Like, okay. And the way everyone's reacting to it with such like solemn respect.
Yeah.
Just a really weird moment. And I keep saying weird, and I feel like that's normally derogatory, but I think it's a fairly, in a literal sense, pretty incredible scene.
Mm-hmm.
Weird if you were in the moment.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. And then after seeing the reactions of everyone's faces, it goes back to Julia Butters, and you can see she's just like clearly like the first person to clock. There is something very wrong with this family, and no one's talking about it. And this is like a long time before the family actually does kind of break up.
Mhm.
And she's already like very worried at this point. which I think is a great note that I don't know if I picked up on quite so much of what she was doing throughout the movie the first time I saw it, because it is a smaller part, but you can track it from her really. And it's like, yeah, it's comic, but it's also like pretty messed up just in like a parenting sense. I don't know.
If I remember correctly, I know like Spielberg had this idea for this movie since like 2001, like early 2000s.
He didn't make it while his parents were alive.
Yeah.
Well, no, his dad lived until 2020. He was just like 103.
I think 2019.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
But he had the idea, but it did not actually get made until his dad passed away.
But I think his sister was helping him write it or something at that,
Yes.
like way early on. And then like he was just like, I'm not too happy about this. And he was also super embarrassed, like he would hurt his parents' feelings. And his wife and his mom didn't die until like 2010 or something like that.
Yeah,
they both lived a long time.
Yeah. His dad especially was.
His dad was like 103.
Yeah.
And died, I think, in like 2020.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But I think it's like. It seemed like his sister probably had like a big input, and I think that was his sister, the one that was helping write.
I bet, yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
I know like some of the press tour he did with it, he was doing interviews with his sisters, and like talking about it. And I know I think that one was the most involved in the actual like writing, or at least like the story and like bouncing ideas. But I
Yeah.
know all of the sisters at least were like aware of what he was doing while he was doing it. And, you know, involved in some way in the process, which is probably for the best. I guess that was an okay line for him to approach, but yeah, I mean, his parents don't like, they don't come across as saints in this movie. No one's perfect and stuff, but I can understand not having some pause about putting this out while they were still able to see
I
it.
feel like that would be tough, especially like his dad. Like it's clear that his dad is at least like kind of holding him back in some senses, and he's literally exposing his mother's mental trauma like on screen.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing that happens while watching this movie is if you just watch it as a story, it's fine, but it's kind of impossible to separate it from Spielberg and him pretty early in the movie when Bert's like, can you just make this? And he's like, no, I'm making a World War II movie.
Yeah.
It's your war. And it's like, they don't really put a fine point on it, but the way he's framing it, it's your war. Like he wants to connect with his dad on this thing.
Yeah.
You know, in real life, Steven Spielberg has made multiple World War II movies. And so like that, obviously there's some charge to that for him.
Yep.
And so it's just hard to not think about that kind of thing.
Yep.
While you're
for
watching
sure.
the movie. So they get back from the camping trip. She gets that phone call. And here comes Boris.
Yep.
Judd Hirsch parachuting in for less than 10 minutes to get an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, he kills it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a great scene. I did want Dano to be nominated for supporting, but
Yeah.
I mean, Judd Hirsch is amazing in this part.
It's crazy because like, so I know Judd Hirsch mostly from being a very practical straight man, you know, like over like I have seen a weird amount of Taxi, and
Sure.
for my age group.
And we all saw Ordinary People.
Yeah, we all saw Ordinary People, his other Oscar nom.
Yeah.
But it just to me, like when I see, okay, we got Judd Hirsch coming in as an 88-year-old man or wherever he was when he filmed this, and it's like he's gonna be a grandfather. And then you're in my brain watching this, I'm like, okay, we're gonna get curmudgeonly old Judd Hirsch. That is not what we got. We got Judd Hirsch swinging for the fences.
No, I think
and getting pretty crisp contact on that too.
I think it's the longest time between nominations because he got nominated for Ordinary
42
People,
years.
so it's 42 years.
It's about 80 was so 42. You got it.
Yeah. Swinging for the fences, indeed.
Yep.
It's an incredible performance.
Mhm.
I guess if he's in the movie for more than 8 minutes, maybe it does great after a while. But great as in, you know, be caustic, not as like he does great.
Yeah.
But there's a great scene, and there's a couple of scenes, but really the showpiece is him in Sammy's room while they're getting ready for bed.
Mhm.
And Sammy's like excited to talk to him because this is a guy who did work in the movies. And he's very much from the early version of Hollywood when it was still like a blue collar thing that people who worked there were basically looked at as carnies.
Yep.
And you can scream on set and all that.
Yeah.
While filming, you can just shout as loud as you like.
Yes, exactly. This whole showpiece is Sammy being like, oh yeah, my dad wants me to make this stupid camping trip video, but I want to work on my thing. And Hirsch just immediately clocks, oh yeah, no, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You want to follow your stuff. You don't give a shit about that.
Mhm.
You love them, but you love this more.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's Red Letter Media in some recent videos have talked about blocking in business.
Yep.
And blocking is like where the people are in the scenes, and the business is like what they're doing and when they're moving around, and like it's how you make scenes interesting. People aren't just like standing still and talking to each other. They're like moving around, they're picking up stuff, they're eating, they're doing whatever.
Yeah.
And this scene is all blocking in business.
Yep. Because they're just in a small room.
It's two people in a small room, but like Judd Hirsch is like stalking him around the room and like grabbing his face and ripping his shirt and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just great shit. There's so many good lines in here, but yeah, it's so good. And of course, the family art. And rip your heart apart and stuff. Yeah, it'll rip out your heart.
Yep. And then he sleeps on the floor.
Yeah.
I had said before that
It
I
was
was like,
just your grandmother, tear your shirt and sleep on the floor.
I had said before that I was like, man, the thought of an 88-year-old man sleeping on a twin bed, like, just it makes me hurt. And then he's like, I'm sleeping on the floor. And,
And you are too.
And you are too. Because your grandmother died. Rip your shirt.
Yeah.
Considering he probably did that scene more than once, on a scale of 0 to Hulk Hogan, where do you think Judd Hirsch is on the ripping shirts off pantheon?
I think because the punchline of that bit where he starts like bawling and he tears his shirt, and Sammy comes over and he's like, whoa, what the? And then he immediately cuts into, I'm mourning. Haven't you ever seen anyone grieve before?
Yep.
And he's just like right out of it.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It is.
It's so funny. It also sets him on a course for the rest of his life. And it's, all this stuff. It's good writing. Tony Kushner is a good writer. He should get an Academy Award someday. So Judd Hirsch parachutes back out of the movie.
Yep. Never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again. He does that thing where he's pointing at him and he does that with his hands pulling apart. And that's him pointing is one of the shots that was used a lot by press and publicity photos during award season for this movie. It was that, and it was Sammy looking during the World War II sequence.
Yeah.
Through the camera.
Like, if they needed a shot of Judd Hirsch from this movie, they only have like 5 minutes of it to do, so
Yeah.
might as well do that one.
They probably don't want him sitting there with a ripped shirt.
Yeah.
So.
It was him pointing and him sitting on the bed with a pre-ripped shirt were the two publicity photos of Judd Hirsch they used for this movie. There was a really nice moment when Bert's telling him he has to edit it, where Sammy's like, no, I got this stuff going on.
Yeah.
And Bert's telling him, like, don't be so selfish. Like,
yeah.
And then he's just like, something's wrong. I don't know what to do. Can you help me?
Yep.
And it's just like the realization from Sammy's part of like, oh, my parents are like real people, and the stuff that I'm doing, like, eventually I do need to actually help other people too.
Yep.
And that's just growing up.
Yep.
I think everyone remembers when they realized their parents were real people that might need help. Freaks you out.
It does, actually.
Yep.
It's a real existential crisis on your part. You're like, oh my God, I have been a very selfish person for the last however many years you've been alive.
Yep, that was 2 weeks ago, so it's been really traumatic.
Mine happened only a few years ago. So.
Yeah.
And then this leads right into Sammy editing the camping trip, which leads to him discovering, and then I wrote, that's Benny's music, because he's seeing all the Benny stuff with Mitzi, and it freaks him out. He does like Joaquin Phoenix seeing the alien in Signs on TV and like jumping backwards thing from the screen. He does almost the same thing. And yeah, then he's just really kind of shitty to Mitzi and Benny for the next several scenes.
I was gonna say kind of overly shitty. It gets lost in the fact that
he's what, like 16?
Yeah, I guess
17 here.
But like, the one that always kills me is Seth Rogen just going to him for a hug, just like
And he just walks by him.
Yeah, just
He goes, oh, Mr. DeMille,
Yeah.
good job. And he just blanks him.
Yep.
And he's just sort of done the brush off to his mom too.
Mhm.
And then the other sisters come over and they're like, well, Mitzi's leaving with Betty. And Sammy's just like
Yep,
mad mugging him.
It's time to talk about the slap.
Not quite.
Zachary
The,
Quinto.
Oh,
You shouldn't slap kids. It's never works.
Nope, it's not good.
Well, before all that happens is we're talking about the aftermath of the screening, but the filming of the World War II sequence and then the screening of the World War II sequence.
Yep.
And the really amazing scene, which is I think the first time where I'm thinking of Gabriel LaBelle doing a really good job as an actor, when he's explaining the motivations to the kid who in real time realizes that he's being asked to act.
Yep.
And then they're both getting like too into it, and Sammy's putting his own stuff into it.
Yep.
And the kid's like really picturing how he would feel emotionally.
Yeah.
And they're both like holding back tears.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like trying to be like tough guys about it.
Yep.
And this whole sequence is incredible.
Yeah, I loved the kids like getting up and running because
Yes.
it's like anybody who's made any level of film has had to do something like that.
Yeah.
Like just some screwy. Okay, like I need to I only have 4 people here, and we gotta make it seem
We gotta make it seem like 100 people are dead in this valley.
or and anything like that. So like. The minute they got, I think I literally said out loud, "Oh, this is great," because like I definitely not to the scale that it is in this movie, but yeah, I've definitely had a scene where it's like I'm going to rotate the camera here, and then you have to run behind me immediately and not make enough noise that the camera picks it up.
Yeah, this is the good shit. And it's just that like incredible gut punch of the kid keeps walking,
Yeah.
and then when it cuts to him, and you see he's just been sobbing
Yeah.
basically. Oh man, that
got
stuff
me.
gets you.
Yeah, that got me, especially because when that scene started, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the classic. Sammy's going to be
like goofy almost.
Yeah, it's like Sammy's going to be explaining it, and he's going to care too much, and the other kid's going to hit him with it. It's just, like we're just having fun, dude. Like, calm down, like because it seems like that's what they're leading. Because it is basically a little bit of a swerve, but like, yeah, it's a big kid. He looks jockey, like he looks like he's too cool for
clearly
school.
Just
up
like an
until
athlete or whatever.
Yeah, he looks too cool for school up to that point, and then he, like you said, and I think it's a little bit of like a self-indulgence probably from Spielberg. I'm assuming this is coming from something that he actually did when he was younger.
Yeah.
Maybe not to this level. But it's a little bit like, I got that. Like, I can, if I need to, I can pull that out at any time because I had it when I was 13.
Yeah. There's definitely a couple scenes like that where he's just like, "Ooh, can't wait to commit this to screen."
Yep.
And then the screening where there's a couple really interesting things that happen, but I think it's one of the trailer shots of once the movie ends and Bert and Mitzi and Benny turn around and Paul Dano's doing like the clapping while he's nodding. And then it cuts to Dano and Williams, and he like leans in, and she immediately turns to Benny, and the camera gets pulled over, and Dano's cut out of the frame. I mean, like it's not subtle stuff, but it's really effective.
Yeah.
And the first of a couple times during a screening that you see Sammy just like staring daggers at someone, looking for their reaction specifically. And I think it's a little unclear. It seems like from the eye lines, he might be looking at Benny actually, or Michelle Williams probably, but it's just cool. It happens later at the prom too, and it's really good.
Yep.
But yeah, the aftermath, etc. The slapping scene before the swim test. You want to talk about it?
Well, I loved the intro line where it's great sibling banter. Someone who doesn't have a sibling, it's great sibling banter, and it's just like it's like, oh, and then you got to put your arm around his chest, and then like one of the other sisters like, or her chest, and she's like, and the other sister's like, not him. He'd never put his arms on a girl's boobies. And then he's like, well, maybe if you grow some, I'll let you know or something. Freaking Friars roast halfway.
I was like, speaking of boobies, if you ever grow any, we'll have a party.
That was it.
Yeah, it's great sibling banter, but then have you guys seen I Think You Should Leave?
Yes.
I'm not all of it, but
He totally turbo teams Michelle Williams, where she like everyone's making jokes, and she starts making a joke, and he's like, "No,
this is serious. No. People die every year.
You're not on the turbo team until you're on the turbo team. Walk slowly."
You're trying to feed me food. I'm gonna drown now.
Yeah, I can't eat this food. I'm gonna die.
I think he calls it crud.
And again, Reggie clocking what's happening is like, "Stop yelling at her." And one thing I didn't notice when I was watching the movie the first time, and again, I mean, she's asked to do kind of the most explicit, explainy stuff is Julia Butters in the movie playing Reggie.
Yep.
But while at the beginning of this scene, when he starts yelling at her, she's just going like this. She's
it's
like,
happening again.
Right, yeah, and you totally get like, oh, this isn't the first time they've been yelling at each other recently.
Yeah.
But then The slap. It's so specific. This had to have been what actually
happened. Yeah,
because it's a slap in the center of his back.
Right.
Yeah. And it
almost
leaves
like a
such
wrestling
crazy
slap,
mark.
like almost like a Walter-esque, like just you want the sound. So, and then the mark, and then the crowd can go, ooh, he actually hit him.
So she gives him the 10 beats of the Bowery.
Yeah, exactly. One.
Yeah, the sisters are counting.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah, this scene's pretty like indescribable too, because like, wow, this must have been really painful for Spielberg even 70 years later to film.
Yep.
When she goes into his room and he's like, you've been such a little shit to me.
Yeah.
Slaps in the back, and then she's in the room, she's like, just talk to me. Just like, what's going on? He's
And
like,
he
he can't.
Yep.
He fucking can't. He makes her go back in the closet to watch a movie again.
That explains it. I'm picturing Steven Spielberg like asking for a glass of juice from his mom, but he has to film he has to film an entire juice process first and show it to her. Yeah. Like here's like
someone taking
an apple from a tree. Like he spends 2 days filming just to ask for one glass of juice.
And what are you trying to tell me, Steve?
Tell me, Sammy.
That whole scene's fucking incredible. I love the choice to not show what she's seeing, to just hold on Michelle Williams' face.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like really tough stuff that she like crawls out and is like really pathetically like trying to just unplug it, you know? But the sort of thought process to just fucking pull it out of the wall instead of turn it off.
Yeah, like there was like that thought of like anyone who's in like that actually cares about their equipment, just like, ooh, don't do that. And then I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if he was thinking, oh, don't do that, or just this moment's too like I don't care, just whatever. It's
she
one
comes
time's
out,
probably not gonna hurt it that much.
And I like how it's not, I don't know, I don't want to overstate, but like the writing in the movie I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I like that he's not mad. He's not doing it accusatorily.
It was almost like it almost feels like it's off his chest finally. It's like, I didn't know how to do this. You're screaming at me. I have it right here. Just let's get it done.
And he's not like it's not like he's trying to guilt trip her.
No.
He's immediately like I'm not gonna tell anyone, and she can't even respond, and they're just sitting there on the floor. There's a couple interviews where the actors say that like sometimes Spielberg would yell cut, and you'd see that he's just like crying.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, that must have been a weird filming process. Yep. I mean, they all speak really glowingly about it, but still, like, there's like the guy, right? If you're a young actor, like, oh, this is the guy.
Yep.
But it's just kind of crazy.
I just want to say briefly, because it's this scene, one of the only line reads in this movie. I think the acting is phenomenal in this movie.
I'll just state plainly, I think Michelle Williams is wonderful.
Yes.
I was going to say Gabriel LaBelle is one of my favorite performances from last year.
I agree.
We got him in the ladies too.
Yeah.
Good.
And he is amazing. And like, I literally can't think of a performance in this movie that I don't like. But the line read that Gabriel LaBelle has on disrespect, when she's like, you've been showing me nothing but disrespect, and he goes, disrespect. And it made me laugh a little bit, and I was like, I can't believe they kept that line, or that line read specifically. Yeah. But again, the rest of it's fine. It's just the way he said it just kind of killed me.
That was weird.
And I think this might be getting into giving it too much credit territory, but he is being like kind of performatively angry.
Yes. So it's
I
hadn't
not
thought
really
about it from that
natural.
angle. Yeah.
And again, maybe that is giving it too much.
It might be.
Because it's sort of the same tone he uses when I've got a monkey at home that's smarter than you.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great line, though.
Yes, it is. You
That's
anti-Semitic asshole.
That's a rule of cool line if I've ever heard one before. You think of that line, you write it down, you never take it out.
You never take it out.
I know it's near the end, but I loved that scene.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We did a thing for like favorite scenes of the year, and that was the one I cited from this movie.
So good.
That's also when we were in the middle of that scene. I don't want to skip ahead to it. We were in the middle of that scene. I literally just said to her, "This is awesome." like I'm just like, it was like while he was punching the other kid, I'm like everyone's killing it in this movie, in this scene.
Yes,
right now.
that scene is what elevated this movie to my favorite of the year. But we're not even in California yet.
I'm sorry. Bring it back. That's just a teaser.
That's a teaser. But yeah, now they kind of understand each other.
Yep.
And then we already talked about it, but No, we didn't talk about this. This is after the screening because they don't know why he's mad at them yet at the screening. Then it goes right into the last Rogen scene at the camera store and then on the street outside, which is Rogen's really fucking good in this movie.
Oh God, yeah.
Especially like you were talking about, I hadn't even thought about it until now, but it is hard to take a person who is actually extremely funny and make them funny, but not really funny. Like
civilian funny.
Yeah, civilian.
Yeah, or like how like an uncle is funny when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Yes. And now Sammy's in high school and thinks that his mom is having an emotional affair with this guy.
Yep.
Doesn't really want anything to do with him. But yeah, him turning on the kind of serious tone and doing the like, it'd be really interesting to see a movie with Seth Rogen in this mode. He doesn't make a ton of movies anymore. He's more behind the camera and producing. But this whole scene is incredible in.
Yeah.
And he's still kind of doing like the thing with the camera. And then when they're outside.
Did funny
and just,
people. I guess that's probably
Steve
probably the
Jobs.
closest.
Oh,
right?
he's in Steve Jobs. But
He's fucking great at Steve
Yeah.
Jobs.
He is.
I love that movie. So they leave Seth Rogen behind. But the end of that scene where he does like, the trailer line, if you stop making movies, it'll break your mother's heart.
Yeah.
You can be mad at me, but she doesn't deserve that.
Think what you want about me, kiddo. I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. But don't be mad at her. She doesn't deserve that, least of all from you. And he says like, I'll pay you $35 for it. And Rogen's just so fucking charming here.
Yeah.
He's like, you drive a hard bargain, kid. And then he does like the really serious hug. And when he comes out, you see he doesn't have the money in his hand anymore.
He does a little pat on his.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that scene was very good.
And then he's driving away and he says, keep the change.
Yep.
The chain.
And then you don't see him again, and
I was
I'm
gonna
very
say,
sad about that.
A lot of
Picture wrap, but what a great.
Oh, we see a
Yeah.
picture of him with Michelle Williams.
Yeah.
But
a lot of characters in this movie stop being in the movie after they're in cars driving away. Which,
You see, yeah. And it directly goes to this that happened after Bert told them we're moving to California. And Benny's not coming. And they go and they're in the car. And Paul Dano's like, everybody gets a bedroom. And Benny's not here and stuff. And Michelle Williams is sad.
and he has the thing. He's like,
I had a dream where I punched him right in the
I had a
face.
dream where I punched him right in the nose.
And
What do
that
you think
was
that's
it.
about?
And you're waiting for there to be another line. And he's just like, isn't that funny?
I assaulted our friend, Betty.
And then obviously Michelle Williams needs to get out of the car. Mitzi runs up the hill, and there's another great scene of just like, Sammy, Dano's like, let's give her a minute. And Sammy's like, well, I know what's going on, so I'll be the one to go talk to her. Him like becoming more of an adult and like actually treating his parents like something closer to on the same level. Great work from Michelle Williams in this like breakdown scene.
Yeah. I like that she just has a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Looking sad as hell, just in a cowboy hat.
Yeah, her line about like how hard it is to be married to a guy that's that nice. He kills with such kindness.
Yep.
If I yell at him, he buys me a dress or whatever. And she says the line. Sammy's like, well, okay, what's gonna happen now?
Yeah.
She's like, well, I'm gonna keep being your mom. I'm gonna see like he's the most decent man. I'm gonna stay married to him, and we're just gonna see what happens.
It'll probably be fine.
So they get to horribly anti-Semitic Northern California.
Yep.
It's interesting because it's, again, a movie you're thinking, oh, it's about Hollywood. They're finally going to California. But like, you know.
Like Seth Rogen literally has that line. It was like everyone, it was like, because he's like, I'm not going to make movies. He's like, everyone makes movies in California.
Yeah. But this is the northern part. And I think, you don't see a lot of movies about like, lots of California is very conservative, actually.
Yeah, Fresno and, well, I don't know if Fresno is politically.
Bakersfield.
But, like, there's a lot of northern, like Sacramento areas that people don't go on vacation in those cities necessarily.
Yeah. And so they found one of the anti-Semitic hotbeds.
Fresno. I don't know. I'm just going to dunk on Fresno.
Pretty quickly, they're going to school. I do like that everyone is so much taller than all of them.
It's both good that there is so much taller, and they do have a throwaway line like is everyone like a sequoia here or something like that?
We feel like we got dropped into the land of the giant sequoia people.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it works because it immediately puts him on the back foot. He's been a popular kid that's been friendly with his peers and stuff.
Had a very good, solid friend group that helped him make movies. He hasn't made any movies since the Mitzi Benny stuff.
Yep.
And that they don't make such a fine point of that, but you're seeing that he's not doing anything with cameras.
Yep.
And he's immediately being bullied by anti-Semites.
Yep.
Oaks Fegley's there. In his first scene, he says, "I'm going to murder you."
Yep. he hangs a bagel in his locker.
How'd he fit it through the crack in the
I did not know that was an anti-Semitic thing. I had no idea what the correlation with bagels and Jewish people were at first.
Interesting.
Yep.
I had no idea.
We can explain.
You're
it
just
later.
too pure.
Well, no, Sam did explain it, but I was just like, what does this mean?
I'm like, oh, that's bad. He's doing it bad.
It's bad. Don't do it. Yeah. Very bad. Don't do it.
Yep. Like if you did that now, you get so canceled, you get sent to the sun.
Everyone starts calling him a slur.
Yep.
Which he
That's
says,
what I
"Please
did,
don't call me."
but-
But eventually everyone at prom is chanting it briefly.
Yeah.
Not cool. Very bad. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually he calls him a couple of slurs in this first
Yes, he
scene.
does.
Yeah, the K word's in there.
Yes, it is. And and he's like, "Uh-oh, well, I see what the rest of this year is going to be." It's not clear like timeline wise, but some time is passing. They're still bullying him.
Yep.
He sees the popular kid making out with a redhead in the
Yep.
stairwell. And then after that, he runs into them, and the popular kid's actual girlfriend is there, and he tells her, after Oaks Fegley's trying to make him apologize for killing Christ.
Yep.
An Adam Sandler joke from like 2004.
Yeah, I'm mad that actually kind of popped me a little bit. Like he's like his delivery on apologize for killing our Lord or something like that. I was like, damn it.
Yep. And he doesn't.
No. Good. It's funny because Spielberg's making the movie about himself, but it's funny. It's like, and I did stand up for myself there.
Yeah,
I
he
did
tells
give
his
them a
girlfriend,
1-2.
"I'm not going to apologize for that, but maybe your boyfriend should apologize for making out with that redhead a half hour ago."
To which I yelled, ooh.
Yeah. Claudia runs away. Claudia's the girlfriend. And Sammy's immediately like, "Oh, I'm about to get very punched."
Yes.
And he is.
Until you've been in that place in your life where you've said something fucked up and you see the person turn around with heat in their eyes, it seems like stupid. It's like, well, of course he shouldn't say that. Of course he's going to get punched. I've been in my life a couple of times. I'm lucky I've never been in a fight, but I have been punched before. That's just because I didn't fight back. It wasn't a fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, there have been times in my life where I've done something because I thought this is funny or I'm not in control of my emotions right now. And then you do it and then you see that person that's much bigger than you turn around. Yeah, that was what happened here.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is basically the whole high school sequence starts a little over an hour from the end of the movie, and you're just with them, and this whole cast of characters. And the next day, he's like, "You have to apologize. Tell her you made it up." And then there's that great scene
At the library.
yes, of
what a great scene.
Claudia and Monica. Monica is played by Chloe East, who you don't realize at the beginning of this scene is about to be the best part of many of the next scenes. And again, it's just what we said in the ladies episode. It's this whole sequence where you remember, oh yeah, Spielberg's probably the best at getting really high-level performances out of child actors ever to exist. And so he does.
Yeah, you're not kidding. She gets introduced to this scene, and you're literally like,
She's just like, oh, the friend of this girl who's going to be more important.
At the beginning, like, I guess you have the friend here so that she can deliver the specific line. She was up all night crying.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why do you even have, like, what's going on? Like, it's literally like, okay, we have this. I literally paused it at that point for some reason and thought, I wonder if this second girl's even famous because I don't know who she is.
Yeah. And then Claudia's like, oh, Monica, she's hot for Jesus.
Yes,
and you're like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. She's got a raging girl boner for Jesus Christ.
We don't say that anymore.
But then it actually was a fetish.
It totally was. And
Best shot in the movie. Oh, we'll get to it. Sorry.
they're like, he's Jewish.
Yeah.
She's like, whoa, you don't say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ever since I've been circumcised.
Yeah.
Great line.
Great return line. And it works.
It worked.
And Monica's like, maybe you want to come by and pray. And so Gabriel LaBelle in awkward teen mode is like, so good.
Oh God.
And he's like, yeah, maybe like, what are you thinking? Like today?
Yeah.
And then it cuts to them in her shrine room.
Yep. It is extreme. He's also extremely believable. Awkward teen guy. Awkward teen guy. But like also that believable, like you see, it's like, that Gabriel LaBelle's had like 3 girlfriends and I don't get it. And you're like, I don't know, he's attractive and he's weird, but he's got like something.
He's got the juice.
He's got the juice.
You can't put
He does
your
really.
finger on it.
He's really good at being a kid who's awkward but still got the juice.
Yeah.
Maybe it comes natural to him. I don't know.
He's kind of a smartass.
Yeah, he really is.
He's very self-confident not about volleyball.
No, he's really
About
bad at
other
volleyball.
things. Yeah, that scene is just a great lesson in escalation of a joke where you're seeing all the photos and then then the camera moves to look at her bed and she has like the lit up heart around.
The shot of them
the
like in
crucifix.
the heart is so good.
Yes, it's incredible. And then this whole scene it's probably the funniest scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's so good. And again, you're like, an hour and a half into the movie, we're introducing a new flavor. And it's her whole bit about like come into me, Jesus. And so he was just like freaking out.
Breathes
like,
into himself.
himself.
I love he crosses himself across twice because he doesn't know what
Yes.
to do.
Yeah, and after she kisses him, and he's just like stupefied, and he doesn't know what's going on.
I do like the forced
She's like-
she forces him to cross
Yeah,
himself.
she does
Yes.
it first, yeah, and then
She's like, you gotta
that's so
loosen
good.
up, and she's like shaking his arms out and stuff. And then they're making out, and then they go, and then they're on the bed, and there's like, I caught it this time, and maybe in the movie theaters too. But he lays down, and then she jumps on top of him.
Yep.
And for like a half a second, you see his face, and he's just got like the biggest, dumbest smile on. And
I
then
did miss that. I'm sad.
the I guess reaction shot of Jesus when they're on the bed and making out, and then the camera points up, and it's like the low angle shot of the crucifix, and he's just like looking down. So funny.
That scene is way funnier than it should have been.
Yeah.
Yes, it's starting like, oh, is this going to be kind of awkward? Is she going to be? Is she going to be mad that he's not like going to take this seriously?
I thought it was gonna be like a weird like Jesus freak
And then
scene where it was just like, oh, this is really
she starts-
uncomfortable,
yeah.
and then no, it was just hilarious.
And she
Yeah.
starts yelling slurs at him or something.
Yeah.
And then
Right,
it
yeah,
ends
like
with like
he-
the whole school
He gets
yelling
like
at
kicked
him.
out of the house or
Yeah.
whatever.
Nope, she just had a real big Jesus fetish, and he was Jewish like
Yeah.
Jesus was, so she was super
Yes.
into him.
It was literally that. And she's just like a much chiller person than you realize. And
Yeah.
she does take that stuff seriously, but is also like cool that he isn't.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah, like
a
weirdly
little bit
like
chiller than you think she's.
like weirdly on the line of like manic pixie dream girl like levels of just like I'm just here to have fun but also love Jesus.
It's almost that, but the way it all resolves, you're like, it's actually a pretty grounded portrayal of like non-overly dramatized for movies versions of these relationships where she's like, you're just a fun boy to kiss.
Yeah.
Like, we're not gonna
I'm gonna get
Like,
married.
Yeah, like we're not breaking up at prom, but yeah, we'll break up in a few months when I move to Texas.
That breakup scene was very good.
Yeah.
Like it really like grounded her in a way that like she just the over the top like bedroom scene doesn't really portray how she's going to be later. Like she's just so over the top there, but then she's actually just a normal like teen, the head nod in the clouds.
Yeah, and almost like just looking back on that, you're like, man, I think she's just kind of messing with him
Yeah. Oh,
because she just wants this boy in her room to make out with,
yeah.
kind of. Yeah, this all. We missed the monkey part.
We
we
did.
skipped over the
She gets the monkey before the bagels in the locker, but after the volleyball scene. And yeah, we did talk about it before though.
did.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They
she
have
the
got-
little
different
girl's line read of "Mommy's got a monkey."
Mommy's got a monkey.
And yeah, it's a problem. We're gonna name it Benny. His name's Benny. It's like, oh.
That's
So
a
I
real
assume-
collar pull
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
I assume Spielberg must have had a monkey as a kid. which is-
Apparently, this happened.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's insane.
It seems a little specific.
Apparently, they toned down his mom
Okay.
from what she was actually like.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because when the movie came out, people were like, Michelle Williams is going very big. It's kind of a crazy performance. And then people who actually, because like he would bring his mom to the Oscars and stuff. So a lot of industry people know or knew her. And people who knew her were like, she was at least that big of a personality, probably more.
Wow.
Yeah. And then her son was Steven Spielberg, so that must have been a cool life.
Yeah.
Anyway,
She got to marry Seth Rogen. Oh, sorry,
Seth Rogen. Yeah, there's a great joke on Twitter that I put in like the other Discord, which I guess I could have sent to you guys, but this was before we were friends on Discord. And it was just a tweet that was Seth Rogen in a random 2004 movie, like smoking weed and going like, like cut to Steven Spielberg. That's him, the man who fucked my mom.
What was the joke that you made? You were like, imagine like having like loving someone like Seth Rogen, and I'm like, you're basically Seth Rogen.
Yeah,
way less weed, but
and then there's the scene right after she gets the monkey, and sorry to go back, but where it's Sammy and Reggie are listening through the vents.
Yeah.
And Mitzi says like, Paul Dano is like, I miss him too. He was my friend. And Mitzi's like, he wasn't your friend, but you knew he was mine.
Yep.
And then Reggie's like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And Sammy just looks at her like,
yeah. Oh, there's all. Hold on, I got to make a whole movie about this now.
wait a minute. I can't tell you, as you know.
Don't tell. Show. I know it's show. Don't tell. But so the other, what is it? There another line where he's like, where Paul Dano's like mad, and he says something like, "What is this about?" Like he's like, "You're mad at me, and I don't know why," or something like that. And she just goes, "Fine, we'll call the monkey something else." And it like kind of sinks everything in for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that here or was that later? I forget.
I think it was probably here.
Yeah.
I think it was around here because later the fight was about like vaccinating the monkey.
Yeah. I'll take the goddamn monkey to the vet. But yeah, so after the bedroom scene is they're at dinner in the Fabelman house. Bert's mom is in the area visiting, but not staying with them because of the monkey.
Yep.
And you're like, Monica's just part of the picture now. She's here having dinner, you know.
Yep.
They're having the family is like embarrassing him in the way that families do when the girlfriend is there.
Yep.
Good scene. It's good shit.
Yeah.
And then they're all mad, and then she's like, "Why don't you film Ditch Day?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, well, all these problems," and everyone around the table is like, "Yeah, no, I'll help you rent that. Like, we'll get the equipment, we'll do this." And then this is when they're fighting about the monkey.
Mm.
Well, because the dad's a little reserved because the dad thinks he's out of the woods on this
like,
on
he
this
hasn't
movie
filmed
stuff.
anything since we got here.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
It's a great thing. He's done with that. It's an expensive hobby that we don't want him to have.
Yeah, I for one am excited that he's embracing a more pragmatic path in life. And this scene starts with like the non-fun kind of your parents are embarrassing you to your girlfriend, where Michelle Williams is going on and on about how monkeys are so self-possessed and it's just their own monkey business and they're not going to tell us. And she doesn't use the word self-possessed, but Bert like chimes in with it and she's like, yeah, exactly. Because Bert does kind of get her.
Yep.
That whole scene's good. And yeah, everyone's like, well, I owe you a bar mitzvah check. I can get that for you, or a graduation present or whatever she says. It would be way too late.
Graduation,
And she's like, yeah, my dad has that camera. He will let you borrow it.
Yeah, whatever the air tracks or whatever it was.
And everyone around the table is like, no, this is a very easy thing to accomplish. And Sarah's just like,
got your graduation check and got your he'll let you rent the camera. And it's like, well, I knew the film's really expensive. It's like,
we'll buy you the film. Like, and then it becomes a opportunity for Mitzi to kind of like go in on Bert about like, you're never supporting him. And I love the moment where he's eventually just like, you already won. I already said fine.
Yep.
And she's told you earlier, like he just doesn't like, he just won't fight with me.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Yep.
Very awkward. Gabriel Bell stands up and he's like, I'll bring the monkey to the goddamn vet myself.
And I'll film Senior Ditch Day.
And I'm filming Senior Ditch Day.
Yep.
And then it doesn't last too long, but the actual filming of Senior Ditch Day, a fucking great scene.
Yep.
They have a nice little beach episode in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, what Reggie later refers to as his beach towel movie. This is, I think, here out is only incredible scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's Banger City from now
Yeah,
on.
it's just this whole last run here to the end of the movie is just constantly topping itself.
The dad in the apartment seeing Benny scene is a little of a dip.
Oh yeah, it's a dip before the victory lap
victory
of the
lap, yeah.
Lynch scene.
Because I said to her before we got the David Lynch scene, I don't want to jump that far ahead, but like I said to her, I would have
Kind of a downer of an ending.
I was like, I would have stopped with the Michelle Williams fade out where he's like, oh, I got done, blah, blah, blah. But then the David Lynch scene came. It's like, no, they needed this. They needed this.
They
real
needed to
bad.
get him to L.A.
Yeah, that epilogue.
Yeah, but the Senior Ditch Day is
Senior
great.
Ditch Day.
It's that song that kind of has like the carnival music.
Yep.
The do go back to what or whatever. I don't know the song. And yeah, it seems like a fun time. It's like such a joyous thing.
Yeah,
and
they do a lot of races. There's a lot of pranks going on.
Everyone seems to like Sammy now that he has a camera.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is how he's gonna fit in. And again, it's
Yep.
and this is probably how Spielberg saw like, oh, he has like a function for these people
Yep.
now.
Oh, people are less anti-Semitic when I have a camera on them.
It did seem
Yes.
weird to me that
When I'm doing something that they can see I'm good at.
yeah, it did seem weird to me that they weren't really laying into him as much. Like the last thing that the jock guy had was that basically this guy ruined his relationship, and it seems weird to me that he's not being more vindictive towards it. But whatever.
Yeah.
It still works. Like he's preoccupied with being a jock and winning everything, so it makes sense that he's not going out of his way to like.
I think a lot of it is he started dating a girl who seems pretty popular,
Yeah,
and
and then that's it.
that's armor.
Untouchable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's got the camera, so it's like you can't beat up the guy with the camera.
No, because he'll film it.
He'll film it. We
And
learned
show
that.
it to the superintendent.
We learned that a lot of times in public.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Maybe not then, but later.
Later on, once everyone had a camera on their phone. Yeah. So this is an interesting scene. I say that when I don't remember what we were talking. So Senior Ditch Day.
Senior Ditch Day.
I love how like it is like almost in Manic Pixie Dream Girl mode where you're like, wow, Monica's really helpful.
Yeah.
She's so supportive.
Yeah, she's like kind of like almost like not directing, but she's almost orchestrating everything.
Yeah,
Like she's
helping with
around,
the
she's
special
involved.
effects.
Yeah, she's throwing stuff. She does that cute cheek thing when she wants
God,
to
I was
look
going to
in the-
mention
Very cute.
the fucking cutest thing.
Yep.
The way this scene ends where she's like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
trying to
he's
hint, like,
she's
show it.
doing it, and he's obviously like, oh, she's just trying to be affectionate, and then she's like, no, idiot, I want to look into the actual camera.
so cute. And then it ends on the shot of him holding it while she's looking through it, and they're just smiling. You're like,
Yeah,
Very cute.
this
It's one
shit's
of those-
magic, dude.
it's one of those things that there's at least 10% of Spielberg when he gets done with this, and he goes, this girl was weird, but I did really like this girl, and I hope she sees this movie.
It's funny because like I don't know, it's like the New York Post or some weird tabloidy thing. Like put out articles after this. Like, we talked to Steven Spielberg's high school classmates, and they said he got no bitches.
That was a dry summer for Steven.
Yeah.
Big Steve dry summer. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and then like other people were like, I don't know, it was 70 years ago. I think he had a girlfriend at some point.
He wasn't Steven Spielberg then. He was just a guy with a camera.
Yeah, and then like Spielberg's been like, yeah, I mean, a lot of these are sort of like amalgamations of different people, just for the sake of not having 50 named characters for this section of the movie. I can't imagine there isn't a guy out there that Logan, the main jock, is literally that guy.
We said, yeah, we
It's
were
too
saying that.
specific.
We were saying that during the scene, like that Steven Spielberg's making this film, and that guy's just like, oh, I really did do a lot of bad things, like 60 years ago or whatever.
We're almost there.
I'm going to find Spielberg now.
I actually did mention that because he said there was a specific line in it where if you tell anyone about this, I'm going to
Unless I make a movie about it, which I never will.
Yep. And then it's like that guy definitely saw this and is tracking him down now.
I didn't say that.
He's calling up Spielberg like, hey, I meant it when I said that.
I'm walking to your house right now. He's got a walker. And he's just, I live in rural Iowa now, but I'm going to get there.
These football injuries have weakened me, but I will get you.
And so, this sort of like ecstatic celebratory mode that the Ditch Day's in goes directly into the just very light score, but originally mostly like no sound hand cam footage, implying that it's Sammy filming it of them going to the new house. And you see everyone's like really excited, but not Michelle Williams, who won't go in. And then like Bert does a bit where he's like carrying her over the threshold and she's staring directly into the camera because like Sammy's the one holding the camera. And it's like, it's a message to her and her face is just like slowly dropping. And you're like, oh yeah, haunting shit.
Yeah, it is haunting. It was a little less haunting for me because I had made a little like bit in my head that every time it said, because we have subtitles on, and every time that he's filming and someone's saying something, it like comes up and says no audio because it's like, like it wants you to know. So like every time that happened, I was just picturing Paul Dano yelling no audio, like, no audio, no audio, like into the camera.
That scene though, where she's looking at the camera like that, really gave me Immortal vibes. Or Mortality vibes.
Immortality vibes.
Yeah.
Can't spoil that for Voss.
That scene, and then also the scene where she's dancing in front of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was thinking about mentioning to you guys, give me real Immortality.
We
vibes.
really need Voss to play Immortality.
You need to play Immortality.
It's a video game.
And then and then Michelle Williams stares directly in the camera that leads directly into I think I refer to it as bravura stuff because I do not have the words to describe this scene where Bert is mostly leading the process of telling the kids that they're separating.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's a really heart-wrenching scene. And then about 2/3 of the way through this scene, and again, the visual language switches to more of a hand cam, like 8mm or whatever the fuck. I don't actually know. But you can tell it's different, like film stock, and it's a handheld camera. And Sammy sees himself in the mirror planning how he would film this scene.
Yep.
Which is something that obviously stayed in Steven Spielberg's mind for 65 years or whatever. And it's a real,
It's subtle too, because it's just in the reflection.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, holy shit. Yeah. He's like, Spielberg implicating himself so hard that like in this scene of like, probably the most traumatic experience of his life, he's thinking about how he would film it.
Yep. He is. It's that much of it.
As he's watching like his sister's brains just like fucking breaking in front of him. And which
is something that he's had time to prepare for or get over
he already knew.
That his sisters haven't as much.
Yes. And he's very specifically not sitting with them.
Yep.
It's the parents are sitting, Bert's standing and they're facing the kids on the couch.
Yep.
And Sammy's like on the staircase off to the side. And he's thinking of it in terms of like, well, he's sitting at this elevated height and he's looking over.
He's watching them.
Yeah. He's just observing. He's not actually in this moment. Wow.
Yeah,
that is some crazy shit.
There's probably some catharsis in actually filming that scene finally. And
it's
able to...
like I said, I think it's not all probably 1-to-1, but that's something that probably has been in Spielberg's head as like, I have to film this scene at some point in my life.
Yeah, we can jump into this more at the end, but like I was reading a thing about it because somebody asked him if he'd make a sequel, like if he wanted to talk more about his life and stuff. And like, I think his exact words were like, I put way too much passion into this movie. I think it was like some metaphor, like I have an ocean of passion, between me and my next movie because I have to kind of like decompress on that.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's an older, like I'm not saying this is his last movie because like, again, no one knows how long he's going to live or how long he's going to be able to film. But yeah, he's definitely can film another movie. But yeah, it is kind of crazy. Like the amount of stuff that's probably just been banging around in his head for his entire life that he's put into this movie. It's got to be incredible.
Yeah, and that scene is probably, it's just a shot, really, that one shot. And then right after that, the close-up on LaBelle's face as he's, you get this dawning realization that he is horrified by his own thought processes, but he can't stop it.
Yep.
That's just, crazy shit. I can't believe they put that in a movie.
Yep.
Like, literally. Somebody on Twitter... Who I don't know. This isn't like they don't have the check mark or anything. F. Varnson, at F. Varnson, whatever. Yep. They said that this bit reminded them of a Monet quote about, there is a famous Monet painting, Camille on her deathbed, which was his first wife, I think, who died pretty young,
Yep.
and he made a painting of it.
Yep.
And it's a quote that reportedly Monet said some remarks to a former French prime minister 40 years after his first wife died. And it was, I found myself staring at the tragic continents, automatically trying to identify the sequence, the proportion of light and shade in the colors that death had imposed on the immobile face. Shades of blue, yellow, gray. Even before the thought occurred to memorize the face that meant so much to me, my first involuntary reflex was to tremble at the shock of the colors. In spite of myself, my reflexes drew me into the unconscious operation that is the daily order of my life. Pity me, my friend.
Damn.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, all that shit just hits like a ton of bricks.
Yep.
I've said a couple of times the movie isn't subtle. The next scene is when Julia Butters goes into Sammy's room while he's editing, and she's like, "Don't you understand? You're the most like Mitzi of any of us."
Yeah.
But whatever, this all works for me. I love this movie, so I'll forgive it. But yeah, it's just LaBelle playing his like fully goblin mode movie boy stuff where he's just like stoically just like editing a super happy beach movie.
Yep.
And she's like, "How are you doing this?" And he's just like, "I don't know."
We're different people or something.
Yeah.
I was just looking up to see if he actually did have like some sort of like personality disorder or something like that, and that's why he was like so hyper focused on movies in an almost like catatonic way, where like it didn't really seem like he had that many like emotions and couldn't connect. Like if it was a form, maybe he was like on the spectrum or something. This was like a special interest. Nothing.
Yeah.
He just has dyslexia.
Undiagnosed.
He could be undiagnosed, but he like it looks like he has like has gotten diagnosis before, but I only see something for dyslexia at 60.
Yeah. Jeez. Editing does kind of put you in a weird zone. I don't know how many people here have edited film. I don't even know if like editing the podcast might be the same thing with just less visual, obviously no visual media, but like
No, seeing the things.
You kind of lose track of time sometimes. Like there were times where I was editing in my video class and like the bell rang and I was like, number one, like, because you gotta go to another class. Like that was really the only time I did most of my editing. And it was like, now I have to leave. Like I have like 45 thoughts in my head right now. Like I can't just, like I gotta write them all down.
And you can also look at this as like, this is therapeutic for him.
Yeah.
And essentially like, this is him like controlling like a narrative.
Yeah.
Like this is something like he can't control what his parents do or like how they live. Yeah.
It is like one of those things. Like when you go through trauma, sometimes the best thing to do is just lock all hands and eye, like all your focus into something else just to like try and distract you.
In the first like 10 minutes of the movie, Mitzi says, "Oh, that's why he needs to see them crash. He needs to get some control over it."
Yeah.
And that's just something that, a theme they were obviously, as we're talking about right now, return to many times in the movie. It's just incredible. I don't know.
Yep.
Apparently there is a lot of talk that people do think he has Asperger's.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to think he might based on how he portrays himself in this
Exactly.
movie.
Yeah, that's why I was just thinking. Like, I feel like there is like something there because there's like obsession with like your passion, but like this seems like a fixation.
Yeah.
This seems like if he wasn't doing this, he would
not be a
die.
functioning.
Yeah.
He would not be a functioning.
He would fall down on the ground and never move again.
Yep.
That's why. But they're nothing official, but it does seem like it is undiagnosed Asperger's.
And it makes sense because I mean you got a guy who's a billionaire who ran a company, and all this stuff. He's still making movies. Like it's not, he doesn't need to make movies. He doesn't, for a long time, he hasn't had to make movies and he keeps making them at a pretty good clip for his age.
Yeah. Back-to-back Oscar noms and 94th, 95th Oscars, West Side Story, and then this.
Mm-hmm. I'm still going to watch the West Side Story movie.
Yeah. We don't have to watch Ready Player One though.
Yeah, you probably, I mean, whatever. It is what it is, but it doesn't really feel that Spielberg.
And that movie is better because Spielberg directed it.
Yeah.
Or better than it should be.
And when he gets to do the Shining sequences and you're like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, he's a big Kubrick guy.
Yeah.
So this was probably, I'm glad he had a good time.
We still got to get to the best scene. We got a half hour.
It's prom night.
It's prom
night.
You found Jesus in a jewelry store.
Got him.
Probably one of my favorite jokes in that movie.
Yeah, I do love that. Like right before that, they get to there, they're like looking at each other, and she goes, "Like close your eyes," and she starts doing the hairspray.
Yep.
Back when hairsprays were awful.
Yeah.
Like, bad for the environment, bad to breathe in. They made a whole musical about it.
Basically, just pulled a pin on a grenade like at the beginning of that scene.
Very funny. They go in. Sammy's, having the divorced parents blues.
Yep.
Basically, as he later reflects on, kind of just asks her to marry him.
Yep.
In
And-
so many words.
Yeah, and then there's the great like breaking up scene where she's like walking away and he takes the thing off, gives it back to him. I barely wore it.
Yep.
I like that her response is like to him telling her that he loves her is that's impossible,
Yep.
which is probably pretty good perspective from her.
Yeah. That's what I always thought when I was like, when you get in like even elementary school, middle school relationships, and people are like, I love you. And I'm just like, I remember being very single and just being like, none of these people love each other. This is stupid. You're all stupid. I'm the hero here.
Just that meme of like everyone at a party and someone in the corner like,
they don't really love
yeah,
each other.
they don't know that they don't love each other.
Stop.
They don't know the YouTube movies I'm gonna make in 4 years.
And yeah, I already mentioned it before, but I feel like it's such a good line where she's like, "You're a fun boy to kiss," and it's like, wow, yeah, that's a really grounded thing for a teen character to say. That I don't think I've heard something like that in a movie before.
Especially like contrasted
Again,
by a girl who's yelling "Jesus enter my body."
She's just had doing bits.
Yeah.
She's just having a good time. Also weird that like they get there and it's like I guess Claudia's the featured performer at prom.
Yep.
Which like kind of freaks Logan out. She's like, I didn't know this was gonna happen.
Yeah, and the guy's playing the trumpet badly, which is a thing that a lot of high school bands do because trumpet is hard.
Yes, I do like that the band is not good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the principal's still like, how about what a great job by this band.
Yeah, and I guess there's not. She's in a couple more scenes as like reaction shots. But I think one of Chloe East as Monica's last lines is like, "You're a fun boy to kiss," but I wrote it down because I just like her line delivery is good. I'm not going to do that, but like after a bit she says, "But sometimes we can't fix things, and all we can do is suffer." And she says it kind of on like a positive note,
Yeah.
and she just like walks away. And then Sammy's just standing there holding the necklace, and then they're like, "Hey, Samuel Fabelman out there in the audience," and
So awkward.
Sammy
Spotlight and everything.
then they all start chanting slurs at him. And he's like, "It's your big moment, Mr. Fabelman." The guy's voice isn't like that, but he's a real nerd Nick. And then he does the screening of the Ditch Day movie, and he starts with his head fully down.
Yep.
And then this is just a great sequence. They're watching, you're seeing the results of all that editing that he did under duress. And I like that, like everyone's getting their highlight moments.
It was very cute.
And they're like playing it up to the crowd, which is a thing that all high school kids would do in such a
Yeah.
situation.
Like the guy that stands up and is like, yeah.
That bird pooped in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some great bits that Sammy put in the movie. And,
and pisses off Oaks Felgley.
yeah, he found the camera sees what it sees.
Yep.
And he found Oaks.
Old
Oaks. Anytime he was stealing that beer or stumbling into the ocean.
Getting rejected. Towel ripped right under.
Towel rip.
That was rough.
There was a time in college, and I probably shouldn't admit this because it's probably something I should get waterboarded out of me. There was a girl that I like kind of had a crush on that was outside on the quad, like sunbathing, and I walked up to her, and when I walked up to her and said something to her, she literally put her towel over herself. Which was like the biggest. Oh, boy.
You told me that before, and it still makes me cringe.
Yeah, it's terrible. And that's what I felt for Oaks. I saw him rip the towel from him.
Brutal.
All the jock winning. He's playing good volleyball. He's
Logan. He's making Logan look like a golden god. There's a shot here that I kind of referenced earlier. That you see, and I didn't catch it really the first time I saw it. It was only before the Oscars. I didn't rewatch the movie, but I rewatched the prom scene a few times because this whole sequence is just so fucking incredible.
Yep.
And on one of those times, I caught this very brief shot of Sammy looking like an absolutely crazed person, staring really like unblinkingly directly at Logan through the reel of the projector as one of these scenes of Logan looking cool is happening. And it's just like another echo of him just like looking at people for their reactions. And yeah, this whole thing's great. I love all the cuts to Logan. Well, I don't know why I said like it's from Minnesota. And it's like a Minnesota / Liverpool thing I just went into. What the fuck?
Logan.
No. You see, like everyone's trying to lift Logan up, and he's like, "No," because all the cuts to him looking like really upset at what's happening while the movie's happening. And then there's a Spielberg patented oneer, a long shot of he comes down from their shoulders, he walks, the camera's following him. Then you think there's a mistake because the redhead approaches him, but she's not in focus.
Yep.
But then you realize Claudia's coming up from behind. Look out, here comes Claudia. And she just like brushes that redhead out of the way.
Yep.
And she's been in focus the whole time, but you didn't notice it first. It's a trick they played on you. And then they make out, and then Monica moves across the gym to where she thinks Sammy is at the projector. No cuts, just all one big camera move.
What I also like about that scene, so the redhead comes up, says whatever her line is. She gets brushed aside, but because she has such a stark like hair color and like they want her to be a visible figure, like you can just see her bopping around in the background for the whole time where Monica's looking for her. Just like she got very publicly embarrassed, and she's gonna be like, "Oh God, I gotta get out of here! I gotta get out of here so bad."
How can I play that off?
So walk in circles. Walk in circles.
Everyone will think I'm busy. I have things to do. And then, she doesn't find him. She turns the music off. Cuts to Sammy crying with his head in his knees in the hallway. This is my favorite scene of the year, I think.
This and the David Lynch scene are definitely my two favorite scenes in this.
I really love this scene.
Lynch scene is one of my favorite from the year.
But everything. There's not a dull moment. I would watch this. This is one of the scenes that'll like pop up on YouTube, and it'll be like, whatever, like 7/9 Fabelmans, like the hallway scene, and I'll be like, I'm just gonna play this real quick.
From the movie clips YouTube channel.
No, at the end. You want to watch these other 5?
How about the monkey scene?
You want to see the monkey scene? You want to see the divorce scene?
It's just so good. Every line is so interesting, and it's just like so much smarter than you. I don't know.
It's one of those things that the writing is extremely smart, but all the things that they're saying are things that high school kids would just be like, that would be the first thing they'd think, and they just say it. Like he's going up to me and just like, I'm mad because you're pulling something. Like you have literally no motivation to make me look good. Why the fuck did you do that? Because clearly something more sinister is happening.
Yeah, and it's I like the misdirect at the beginning that like you don't really buy that it's going to be Oaks Fegley approaching him, but they don't show you at first who it is. That's like what the hell was that? And it's Logan, and he's he's mad that he made him look like something that he can't possibly live up to. And it's such an interesting idea to throw in at this
it means that he already is super insecure, which is what you said, like that basically.
Well, bullies are, right?
Yeah, but it's like a cool thing for like, it's almost like his self-actualization moment. He's like, you put me on a pedestal. He's like, I know I'm good, but like, I'm not going to win every race. I'm not going to win every game.
He did
because again, he thinks it's sinister. He needs, he's like, what's your gambit? It's got to be this.
Why'd you do it? I don't know. I don't know. No, why'd you fucking do it? Maybe I wanted you to like me for 5 minutes.
Yep.
Or maybe it just made my movie better.
Yeah. Which is honestly exactly what he was thinking, probably. It's like,
I don't know if he's resolved that yet. I don't know if he's come down on one side or the other.
From a filmmaking perspective, and it's also like it happens in other little microcosms of life, but it's like if you're seeing something and the story is, despite your best efforts, this person did great today. Like even if it's at you at work and there's a guy at work you don't like and they fucking killed it on a project, you're not going to walk around to other people and be like, and sandbag them like, yeah, but like, come on, like we could have done better than that guy. It's like, no, you killed, like you just have to kind of swallow it. So like, that's what it is. And like, you could be editing that movie just going, well, maybe, like maybe he won't hate me. Maybe I'll get some free points. And then, or what was I supposed to do? Edit you out of the whole day? Like you won everything. Like it's, you won that race that was obviously being filmed. You won that volleyball game that was obviously being filmed. It was the target of what was happening at that time.
But he didn't need to make him look that good.
He didn't have to make him look that good. You made me look like a golden god.
Yeah. He's Sam's like, I made you look like you could fly. Yep. His response, but I can't.
Yep.
Is like, oh fuck, that's good, right? Yeah, that stays in the script.
Yep.
No matter how many revisions. Yeah, this
Is
is
it
a
Oak-
fascinating conversation.
Is it Oak's time? Because I rewinded.
That's Oaks Fegley's music. It kicks in the door. Fabelman.
I rewinded to watch his face again because they do that smash
Yeah.
Yep.
chaos cut to his face.
And here comes Oaks Fegley and Sam. He's like, oh, fuck. And
Yep.
then
you get punched in the
Logan's-
nose again. Let me get my nose right.
Logan steps in front of him and throws him aside. He fucking Don Zimmer Pedro's him.
Yep.
And I thought you'd like that. And I love Gabriel LaBelle's just up against the lockers
Yep.
with his hands
Yep.
up like that. Like, I don't know what's fucking happening.
Yeah.
And then
Punches him and literally kicks him in the butt.
kicks him in the butt, which is a thing people don't do anymore. It feels very 60s to kick
Yeah.
someone in the butt.
They give him a lot of low key lines where he's like, "I got a split," or something like that. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is the '60s."
Yep.
Yeah. And then, Oaks is like, oh, I can't believe you bought that crap. It was so obvious. You're so stupid. And he kicks him in the butt. And then Oaks is like, oh, well, he kicked me in the butt. This guy real.
Yeah.
And he like does like a kind of scrambly move. And he
Yeah.
just sprints away down the hallway. And then,
Classic chicken shit heel stuff.
Yep.
yeah, Logan's sort of pacing in front of Sam and he's still got his hands up against the locker. And he's like, is something about to happen?
Which is literally what I was thinking. So it's a good line.
Yeah. And he's like, if you ever tell anyone that I got upset, that would be a very bad thing. And he's like, I will never tell anyone.
Starts to walk away.
And then he winks to the camera.
Yeah.
You see that?
And he's out of focus when he starts saying this line, but by the end of saying, unless I make a movie about it, he's in focus, which I will never do.
Yep.
And then,
And then Steven Spielberg actually walks on camera, winks, and
Yeah.
leaves.
Very cheeky scene.
I love that he tells him, you like to live dangerously, Fabelman. He
Mhm.
goes, I really don't. He goes, no, you do. Yeah, they have a kind of an understanding.
Mm.
I
like
like
when he
the, I
gives
like
him
the
the-
double bird flip too. It was very good.
Yeah. He like tries to offer him some marijuana.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Oh
that
yeah,
too.
yep.
And he's like, yeah, they've come to some kind of understanding.
Yep.
Um,
Like a respectful, like
and it's like,
eats almost.
better not. Oh, my mind's already all out of control.
Yep.
That weed dialogue, I feel like a little too fake deep for a high schooler. That was probably the most unbelievable
It'll
part
make
of the movie.
It'll make you feel like you're not in control.
Yeah. So that whole conversation is just so fascinating. And then it's what originally feels like should be the end of the movie with Mitzi making breakfast and Sammy giving her like the prom night debrief.
Yep.
And this scene's incredible. I think it is Michelle Williams' best scene.
Probably.
She's really good.
I know she doesn't have a lot of dialogue. I weirdly just like the way she deals with like the closet movie reveal of her with Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
mean,
a lot of
that's great,
dialogue.
too.
She's good right
the
before.
physicality's always good.
She is really good in that. Also in the scene right before with the yelling about the joke being wrong, and maybe that's me falling into the trope of yelling is better. Is better acting. But yeah. The last scene's great. The last scene got done, and I was so mad there was another scene because I was like, "We don't need more. That was it."
It
Cut.
fades to white too, so you're like, "Oh, this is written and directed by
And you're thinking like, oh no, this is gonna be like Lincoln, where he goes on a little too long.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking.
yeah."
Tony, don't do this to me again.
Come on, Tony. But I think this scene's so good, and she's great. It's such a nice moment.
Yeah, I love the bookend of at the beginning. She's like, oh, did she like the necklace or whatever? And he's like, yeah. And it's like that classic, we don't have time to get into this. So yes, I'm just going to eat and leave. And then after they have the discussion, it's like okay, we're already into this. So it's like, Monica dumped me. And then she's like, oh, really? It's like, I told her I loved her. It's like, oh, why did you do that?
I probably shouldn't have asked her to marry me. She's like, what? He's like, yeah. And it's such an easy chemistry that they have, and I think it's like really good chemistry in this scene.
Yeah,
But yeah, she has the line, no,
He's
you
supposed to
don't
connect
owe
with
your
her.
life.
He's not supposed to connect with Paul Dano, which is actually usually how it
I'm doing like this selfish thing, but if I don't, I'm turning into a person I don't recognize, and you'll all just see me as a bitter old woman.
Yep.
That hits her kids.
You're right, yeah. And you
nuance.
don't you don't know anyone in your life, not even me. You got to follow your heart.
Mhm.
Cut to, He hates college.
Yep. And his dad's upset about it.
1 year later, and I guess he's commuting from
3 hours.
He's commuting 3 hours specifically because his old roommate voted for Barry Goldwater, which I know a lot of people listening to this probably don't know that reference. Barry Goldwater was an insane person that even the Republicans turned on.
eventually. Not soon enough.
Not soon enough to get him nominated, but enough that a lot of LBJ commercials were literally Republicans on camera being like, I'm Republican, but I hate that.
It's my least favorite guy.
Yeah, and they're trying to make him president. Stop it.
So the whole panic attack. Have any of you had panic attacks before?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I'll actually say,
sorry.
Oh, wow.
yeah,
This guy.
over here.
It's neurotypical.
I don't know if anyone's seen Ted Lasso. The way that Ted Lasso depicts panic attacks, I think, is the most accurate I've seen in film.
Yeah, Ted Lasso and the new Puss in Boots movie does a very, very good panic attack scene. It is so realistic.
I've seen that on social.
I've had a panic attack while driving, and I couldn't feel my arms. And I had to pull over to the side of the road because I couldn't feel my arms, and I was supposed to be driving a car. So yeah, it's very debilitating, and you do feel like you're having a heart attack.
Yeah, you feel like you're dying.
Yep.
And you don't know why, and that makes the panic worse.
Yep. Because a lot of panic attack symptoms mirror heart attack symptoms. So, like, a lot of the things, both of my arms went numb, and I'm like, well, that can't be good.
I'm having a double heart attack.
Yeah, that's basically what I thought. I was like, my left arm's numb. That's the bad one. And they're just the right one's numb for funsies. I was like, maybe we're on an accelerated heart attack.
It's in
situation.
sympathetic numbness. Yeah, I'm on an accelerated track where it's already dead.
I was dying. Yeah, it's really, that was probably the worst one I've had. I've had one of those since, but at least you get to a point where you're like, oh, I know this is a panic attack. Like, I just have to breathe through it.
We got to California 40 minutes ago and was like, we were going to finish this one. But I was curious. Like, yes, this is, I think, a pretty good, like, he's doing.
It is a good pan. It is a, I love actually. I shouldn't say like, I love the, I think I'm having a heart attack. Paul Dano very carefully walks over and says, you're having a panic attack. And then he goes, your mother used to get them. And what'd you do? And like mid-sentence, he's like, what did you? He goes, I made her tea.
Yes, the kind of softness to Dano in this movie is really impressive.
Which is funny because when I'm having a panic attack, I would love some tea. It's like everything, just like
sip slowly.
That was the exact moment that I was like, now I can't not picture him as a dad. I had so much trouble 2 hours before picturing him as a dad. And now it's like, how is Paul Dano not a dad in every movie?
Yeah.
And then he started screaming Ave Maria in his child's face.
God damn it.
And yeah, this scene's good. You get the moment where he sees where Sammy doesn't realize Benny's in the picture with Mitzi.
Yep.
And then there's a much debated moment on social media because some people think the shadow behind Bert's head after he sees the photo, the shadow looks like actually Mitzi's head in silhouette. And other people are going, what are you fucking talking about? It's a shadow. It's just a normal shadow. So those are the two sides of the debate. We don't have time to resolve it now.
What do you think? Tell me what you think.
I don't think it just kind of looks like a shadow.
All right.
But you can see there's almost like a ridge where you can sort of make out a bob, but you have to want it.
Yeah.
You really have to want to see
a shadow, probably, though.
But the argument is like it's such a prominent shadow and like why like it's a daytime scene.
Yep.
Why would they make such a prominent shadow be such a big part of the frame on one of the final shots of this character?
Yep.
So maybe some of that's there. There's also Spielberg movies. We talked about it when we did Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's a shot when you first meet Marion where it's her and then the shadow behind her is Indy.
Oh, okay.
Very specifically because it's got like the wide brim hat and stuff.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, it's like kind of a thing Spielberg's done before, but that's much more explicit.
Yep.
Anyway, so because we only have 7 minutes.
And we still got to do David Lynch.
Yeah, sorry, Paul Dano, you're great in this scene, but we got to talk about David Lynch.
We got to talk about David Lynch.
He's he gets a letter at the end of that scene from CBS, Afrin Productions, who they're currently setting up Hogan's Heroes.
Yep.
That guy from Heroes is talking to him about
Greg Grunberg.
Matt Lapidus.
Yep. Not Lapidus. That was a lost thing. We'll get by it. Those will be great extras for your people to figure out the layers. You can unpack it yourselves.
Yay. And then he's like, actually, how would you like to meet the best director ever, the absolute GOAT?
Yep.
And Sammy's, yeah, sure. So he walks him across the hallway, and It's not clear if Sammy doesn't entirely know, though it seems like he doesn't, and you as the audience don't know where he's going.
Yep.
But he sits down. Nona's going to take care of you. There's an older lady there. He's like, could be hours. And he's just like, he'll wait. So Sammy sits down. He starts looking around the office, and he's seeing all these posters for John Ford movies. Yep. They're all there. And then the last one is, of course, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Callback. And there's like this really regal music, I'm assuming from one of those movies, probably Liberty Valance playing.
Maybe Rio Bravo.
Yeah. And a literal record scratch happens.
Yep.
Yeah, very good.
And it drops out, and in walks an extremely haggard-looking David Lynch covered in smooches.
Yep.
Absolutely covered in lipstick smooches. And Nona gets up with a tissue box and like runs into the room.
Nona breaking the land speed record together.
Yeah. Comes back out a few seconds later with comically lipsticked tissues.
Yep.
Sits down and goes, all right, you got 5 minutes. Probably more like one. Lose the tie. You'll stand a better chance. And I'm losing my voice. So what did you guys think of this scene?
It's a phenomenal scene.
Incredible.
Incredible scene. I was saying off mic before the episode started, David Lynch, who plays John Ford, obviously the director of Twin Peaks, among other stuff, Mulholland Drive, other things. He doesn't act a ton. When he acts, he almost exclusively plays extremely weird people, and he kills it here.
He's good here.
I want to say that apparently they wanted David Lynch for a while, but it was hard to like get in contact with him and to like get him to do it. They had to get Laura Dern to help out. Laura Dern called him like numerous times, tried to get him to go.
She's the Lynch whisperer.
Yep. And one thing Lynch said before he did it, he said he would take it as long as there were bags of Cheetos on the set as refreshments.
Me.
He just like me for real. The whole thing, I mean, it's so funny.
And it's like
what do you
the
know
most
about
different thing between everything else in the movie.
Yep.
Yes, it stands on an island, but when you do this, it stays in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know you're ending on. He wants a final scene just with Sammy and Michelle Williams, a final scene just with Sammy and Paul Dano.
No.
And then they're like, and how can we send him home happy? How about this shit?
Yep.
I got this fucking 102 mile an hour fastball.
Yep.
Just throw right over the plate for
It's like
you.
you've seen 3 curveballs in a row, and now you just get one down the throat. See you later. Go home.
Yeah. No. Where's the horizon? Yeah, it's so good. He makes them go from painting to painting.
Yep.
What do you see? Oh, well, there's 2 guys. They're obviously looking for. No. Where's the horizon? It's at the bottom.
Yep.
And then when he goes to the other one, LaBelle's voice cracks where he goes, it's at the top.
Yep.
So funny.
If the horizon's at the top,
It's interesting.
It's interesting.
Yes.
If the horizon's at the bottom,
It's interesting. If it's in the middle, it's boring.
As shit.
That's shit.
It's boring as shit.
Now get the fuck out of here.
He says, now good luck to you.
Yeah.
Now get the fuck out of my office.
Only F-bomb in the movie? Were there other ones? Did I miss it? I couldn't think about it.
Oh,
If,
no,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
if
that's it.
so, good choice.
Yeah, very good.
Sammy, he's going, yeah. And then
Yeah.
he sticks his head back in, deep breath. Thank you.
Thank you. And then the great, phenomenal end sequence.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
good.
Yep.
Very good.
The John Williams score all of a sudden becomes like a dreamlike do 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 do. He's walking down. The horizon's in the middle. The,
Move it up.
Yep.
the camera, you actually see the shake of the camera
Yeah.
as it angles up to put the horizon at the bottom.
Yep.
And it goes do 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 do.
Yep.
The screen goes black.
Very good ending.
What did you think was happening? You got the joke, obviously.
So it was funny because I put it that I was telling her when it happens. I was like, "Oh, in the horizon," and like I kind of petered off because I'm like, "No, the horizon's kind of up." Like I was like, the horizon's too high. Like to
It's
me,
in the
to be
middle.
near the bottom. Yeah, but it was funny because like I was real about to be like, "Oh," and of course they're putting the horizon low, and I'm like, "Oh, it's not low enough," and then they changed the camera. You son of a bitch!
You son of a bitch. The original plan was to have actually hear Spielberg yell "cut."
Oh, I actually
This was
would-
better, I
do
think.
think this was better, but
This is better.
Yeah.
It's a
also-
better joke.
I would have liked that, but
That wouldn't
this
have
is
played as a joke though. This
No.
plays like so funny.
better. It would have
Yes.
played a
So
little
fitting.
too self-indulgent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
And it makes more sense this way too,
because dream
it's still, like,
sequence. yeah.
and that he like Spielberg is still learning. It doesn't matter how good he is.
I love that. No,
Yeah.
that
He's still learning. I think this is probably looking into it a little too long, but I like that it weaves in the dream of his mom, like the mom being like, it's a dreams thing. And it's also just so mechanically perfect because of like the adjustments and stuff that it kind of weaves his dad into from like a engineer, like an actual, like the engineering of filmmaking standpoint. It's a great ending. It's so quick, it's snap your fingers quick and then it's done. Yeah. The Fabelmans.
I like that he chose the last name Fable for the fictionalized version of the
There was a little brief on Wikipedia about that where they were trying to come up with a name and they said they couldn't get past how much they liked Fable. It was the German spelling of Fable. How much they couldn't get they just liked it too much and it just made too much of a sense to be a person who makes stories.
Right. I thought it was a very good name choice.
Yep, and a man.
So I think we've there's a lot of other stuff. We could talk about this movie for a long time, and we have. But even a longer time. But we don't have time, so let's do some ratings. Each week we'll put these ratings on the letterbox. I haven't in about 3 months, but one day I will. We're still doing them though. On a scale of 0.5 to 5 on any scale of your choosing, as long as it's not stars, what would you give the Fabelmans?
I'll start. I'll give it a 4.5 men who shoot Liberty Valance out of 5.
Love it.
4 handsome Jesuses out of 4.
Oh,
or 5.
That's a good one. I don't have time to think of a better bit, so I'm just going to say 4.5 horizon lines out of 5.
This is a 5 for me. I loved this movie. This is my favorite movie of the year. This one gets 5 Romas out of 5 for me.
I was gonna say, going into this, you told me like we're watching the Fabelmans, and I was like, sure. I don't have the same reverence for cinema that Ben or Vaz does, and I kind of was going into it just like, I don't know if I want to see a Steven Spielberg victory lap movie, like that kind of just like I was like looking into it. I'm like, nothing about this is interesting. And about halfway through, I'm like, okay, I'm liking this more than I thought. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to give this like a 3.5, maybe a 4. And then like as the movie kept going, I'm like, I actually really like this movie.
Yeah.
Like, and I know I'm not a huge long movie person. It might have helped that we watched it in 2 chunks. But I really liked it.
I was definitely going into this thinking this was just going to be a pretentious like dick suck movie, but it wasn't. It was actually very well made.
It was a very well made dick suck movie.
It was still a little bit pat on the back kind of movie,
And
but
he's
it
earned
was
a victory lap.
But even before this, like I saw the movie, when I was watching the trailers for it, I was thinking like, oh, this doesn't look like that great. It looks like just another one of those.
Bad.
Huh?
The trailer's bad.
Yeah. But it just looked like another one of those like, director saying like, cinema's great. Look at my past kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that'll do it for us. Thank you, Vaz, Bree, and Sam for being on today to Fabelman it up. Yeah, you can find us in the normal places, on the normal social media accounts and at the normal Gmail accounts. And thanks for listening to our episode on the Fabelmans.
Dun, 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 dun.
Fabelmans. Always worth it.
You don't have to keep it. I just wanted
It stays.